Have you ever had a string of bad luck, a series of unfortunate events that almost makes you wonder if you're cursed? Well, the following families have dealt with curses the likes of which you've never seen. These are 10 families with extremely creepy curses. Number 10 is the Agnelli Curse. The famous Italian Agnelli family were the original founders of the Fiat Motor Company and are also owners of other manufacturers like Ferrari and Chrysler. Known as the Kennedys of Italy, this prominent family has experienced its own fair share of loss, almost as if it were traded for wealth and the company's success. Gianni Agnelli, the successor who brought Fiat to the peak of its popularity, lost his father in a plane accident when he was still a baby. As a young adult, he narrowly avoided death in a car accident himself, but lost his brother Giorgio, a long-time schizophrenia sufferer, at the age of 35. Next, his aunt died in childbirth, his nephew Giovanni Jr. died of cancer, and in 2000 his son Edoardo committed suicide after a battle with drug addiction and a history of disappointing his father. The curse of the Agnelli fortune has left few family members alive. Number 9 is the Whadya Curse. In the year 1612, Raja Whadya led his army to take Mysore, India from the ruler at the time. The ruler's wife fled the kingdom and in desperation and rage cursed the Whadya family before jumping to her death in the Kaveri River. Since that day, Raja and his family's successors have had many difficulties in producing heirs to the throne. It seems that male Whadyas are only born every other generation, meaning that the title of king is often passed down to brothers or nephews when the current kings die childless. This eternal curse has slowly strangled the royal bloodline and has nearly eliminated them as a monarchy. And the curse still affects modern generations of Whadyas, with the last royal dying in 2013 and being replaced with his great-nephew who was adopted by his widow. After 400 years, this curse still haunts this family. Number 8 is the Grimaldi Curse. Monaco's royal family, the Grimaldis, have been severely unlucky in love. This may stem from the 13th century Prince Rainier I, who kidnapped a beautiful maiden and sexually abused her. The maiden became a witch and cursed Prince Rainier's family line with eternal misfortune in love. Since then, Grimaldis can't seem to find true love, and if they do, it usually ends badly for the lover. In 1982, Prince Rainier III's wife, actress Grace Kelly, was killed in a car accident. Her youngest daughter, Princess Stephanie, was involved in several bad romances during the 80s and eventually tried settling down with her bodyguard, who ended up cheating on her. She ended up having a child to an unknown father and married 2 more times, both ending in failure. Her older sister Caroline married and divorced in her early 20s, and then had 3 children with her next husband, who died soon after in a boat accident. Number 7 is the Getty Curse. The Gettys found their wealth as major American oil drillers in 1915, when 23-year-old Jean-Paul Getty used loans from his father to buy and sell oil leases. Though he became the richest man in America, he was never very kind to his family, and his greed came to curse him throughout his life. His first son, Timmy, died at 12 years old from a brain tumor. His second, George, was incredibly successful until he stabbed himself in the chest, locked himself in a room, and overdosed on pills. His first grandson, John Paul Getty III, was kidnapped by a group of Italian criminals in 1973 and held for a $17 million ransom, which Getty Sr. refused to pay. Jean Paul III was later secured for $2.4 million after a piece of his ear was mailed to his grandfather, and then he became a paraplegic after a stroke in 1981. After Getty Sr.'s death in 1976, the family has been at war ever since, all over trying to secure his cursed wealth. Number 6 is the Habsburg Curse. The Habsburg royal family was once one of the largest and most powerful royal houses in all of Europe, with members holding the titles of kings, archdukes, and emperors throughout many countries. The royal Habsburgs ruled over Spain, Italy, England, Hungary, Portugal, France, Austria, and Mexico, just to name some. However, they were also terribly cursed and doomed to extinction. The curse is said to have started sometime in the 1700s, when the Habsburgs ordered the extermination of the ravens living in and around their castle. Since then, ravens began to appear symbolically whenever the death of a Habsburg was imminent, and soon after their royal line and their feudal power began to dwindle. The Habsburgs were also strict inbreeders that tried to keep their bloodlines pure, but instead ended up creating so many genetic deformities that their ancestors couldn't survive long enough to reproduce. Number 5 is the Guinness Curse. Known for their Irish stout beer, the Guinness family brought cheers to their homeland in 1759 when Arthur Guinness created his famed beverage in a brewery in Dublin, Ireland. But the beer's success was cursed, bringing death to 11 of the 21 children that he fathered over the years. Many members of the preceding generations of the Guinness family suffered from alcoholism and mental illness that resulted in stays at mental institutions. In the mid-1900s, several Guinness heirs were killed, one murdered by a terrorist group, one drove his car into a van, and another jumped off a bridge because her wealth made her unhappy. Other ancestors had their wives and families abandon them or had extremely dysfunctional childhoods because of their alcoholic parents. The late 1900s brought about Guinness relatives with severe drug problems and suicidal tendencies. The Guinness Curse to this day is a relentless one. Number 4 is the Curse of the Dragon. Famous martial arts expert and actor Bruce Lee had an illustrious film career and was a respected philosopher until 1973, when things started to go wrong for the young actor. During post-production in Hong Kong for his new film Enter the Dragon, Lee collapsed and suffered seizures before being treated at the hospital. 2 months later, on July 20th, Lee took painkillers for a headache and went home for a nap that he never woke up from. He died under extremely strange circumstances at the age of just 32, just 6 days before the premiere of Enter the Dragon. He left behind his wife and his son, Brandon Lee. Brandon, nearly 20 years after his father's death, had also become an actor and landed his first breakthrough role in The Crow. And on March 31st, 1993, 28-year-old Brandon was accidentally shot in the abdomen with a real bullet that was fired for a scene in the film. There are many that believe that some unknown force really wanted this family gone. Number 3 is the Von Erich family. The Von Erichs are a family of male wrestlers who have been seemingly stalked by the Grim Reaper ever since Jack Adkisson came up with a fake stage name when he first entered the ring. His surname, Adkisson, was swapped in 1958 when he started his career as a Nazi villain character named Fritz von Erich. Jack found success in wrestling, but he also found more misfortune than any normal person ever should in their lifetime. In 1959, his 6-year-old son Jack Jr. was electrocuted and drowned in a puddle in their yard in Niagara Falls, New York. Fritz had 5 more sons, Carrie, Kevin, Chris, Mike, and David, all of whom gained considerable fame in wrestling before being taken by the curse. Kevin is the only member of the fighting family who the curse hasn't taken yet. Number 2 is the Rockefeller Curse. The Rockefeller family has been blessed with more riches than they could ever make use of, ever since John D. Rockefeller became a business tycoon in 1870. But the curse of their fortune has cut short the lives of their descendants, starting in 1951 with the murder of 2 young Rockefeller children by their mother, Winifred, who subsequently killed herself. 10 years later, 23-year-old Michael Rockefeller had his canoe capsize in New New Guinea. He was rumored to have been eaten by cannibals. Then in 1978, John Rockefeller III was killed in a car crash, and his brother Nelson died mysteriously a year later at his home. Then a murderer managed to disguise himself as a fake Rockefeller family member in 1995 and evaded capture until his wife divorced him and uncovered the truth. And finally, most recently in 2014, Richard Rockefeller crashed his plane and died. The question is, who will the next Rockefeller Curse victim be? And number 1 is the Kennedy Curse. In 1963, this family curse dug its claws into the Kennedys and changed American history forever. On November 22, 1963, several months after the stillborn birth of his third child, US President John F. Kennedy was shot multiple times and killed while riding in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas. Within the same year, 2 Kennedys had died tragically and left the nation in mourning, and less than a year later, on June 19, 1964, JFK's youngest brother Ted was in a horrible plane crash. On June 5, 1968, JFK's other younger brother Bobby Kennedy was shot and killed while campaigning after his victory in the Democratic presidential primaries. In the years following, more Kennedys were killed by accidents, murder, and suicide, including the famous death of JFK's son John F. Kennedy Jr., who died in a plane crash with his wife on July 16, 1999. It is quite possible that there's never been a family more cursed than the Kennedys. But that's all for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. On the right, you'll find 2 of my most recent videos that you can press or click on your screen right now if you'd like to watch more. And other than that, I will see you in the next video.